When I was about 6 years old, my mom started taking my sister and I to Dr. Daniel's dental office. The dental center was located inside a giant yellow mansion that also doubled as his house. When my sister and I got called in, my mom followed us into the office until she was told by Dr. Daniels that parents weren't allowed to be with their children as it taught kids independence, to which my mom complied to. Growing up, I had bad anxiety and selective mutism, so the moment we all separated, I cried because I was so scared. Dr. Daniels did not like the crying, so he grabbed me and put his hands over my mouth and nose and shook me and told me to stop crying and scaring the other kids. His hygienist Judy came over and told me if I continued to cry, she would spank me. All I wanted was my mom next to me, but I knew that if I wanted to get out, I just had to act like I was not terrified. After the first appointment, my sister and I told my mom that we were scared of the dentist, but she just took it as me being an anxious child, so we continued to see him. Each visit was just as terrifying. Every time we went to the dentist, Dr. Daniels, or the Tooth Man as he called himself, always had us have heavy dental procedures done. We had sealants done on several baby teeth and plenty of teeth removed, some with his fingers with no regards to pain at all. He would leave us there with a retractor on for about 45 minutes or so before he came to work on our teeth. Sometimes he would eat his lunch while we sat there with our mouth open. Probably one of the worst pains I've ever felt in my life. There was one time in the 3rd grade I was in so much pain waiting I couldn't take it. I sat up on a chair and tried to scream and cry as loud as I could. Dr. Daniels came rushing over angry and he screamed at me for being a big baby and scaring the other kids. I was so sad at myself because I hadn't cried in so long. He then took me back to my dental chair and then pinned me down to the seat in a straitjacket. He put my retractors back on and said that I would have to wait longer because I caused such a scene. Afterwards, my mouth would become so swollen and filled with rashes. It hurt to talk for days. He would often tell my mother I was a difficult patient. If I so much as winced at his torture. When I was in 7th grade, I started getting braces, so I went to see an orthodontist. We stopped seeing Dr. Dan and I had a new dentist who was actually nice. I never known that getting your teeth cleaned didn't have to feel like going through a saw trap. I think my mom took us out of Dr. Dan's practice when the orthodontist looked at our dental records and saw a lot of unnecessary procedures being done on our mouths. Not long ago, I was having a conversation with a friend about our childhood fears and instantly my mind went to the Tooth Man. Curious, I googled him and to my happiness, the practice was shut down. Also left under his name was a Yelp page that was still up. The page was filled with numerous 1-star reviews from former patients that were once abused as kids in his office. Their experiences were so close and some identical as to what I went through. A lot of the procedures Dr. Dan did were just a scam for him to collect money off our parents' insurance. And now that I think about it, he was probably so adamant of us not crying and screaming for help because he didn't want parents to hear and come and see what was going on. It's hard not to blame your parents in this situation, but the truth is this man was a swift abuser. For every bruise and swell, he would have dental explanations that would make my parents feel stupid for asking. I don't blame my mom for not believing us, and eventually she did come around. To any parents watching this, if you're ever told to not go in with your child to an appointment, something's definitely not right.
All 3 of us were silent as we drove past the Welcome To sign and into the town with no name. The people all watched us with the same slack expression, their heads tilted at identical angles as if listening to a single far-off sound. For a moment, I heard it too. For a moment, the people in the car seemed like strangers, and I couldn't remember who we were or where we were going. But then we passed the last house, and it came back. We were all old friends, all traveling together, all safe, all four of us. Lana sat in the bottom of the old dark well, waiting for her parents to return. It had been hours since she had seen them, and her stomach had begun to toss and turn from hunger. She hoped that when they came back, they would be able to get her out. Some shuffling and noises going on above ground caught her attention. "Lana?" Her mom's voice called out. "We're back, honey." Her parents peered over the lip of the well. Lana's father winced as he looked down to his daughter. She saw that her mother had been crying. Her father mustered up enough strength to speak. "We brought you some dinner. We know you're probably hungry." Her parents struggled with the body of a man before they tossed it down the well to their daughter. The water level in the well was very shallow, and the snapping noise that the man's legs made when he reached the bottom startled Lana a bit. She could see that he was still breathing and semi-conscious, but she was so hungry. She looked back up to say thank you and ask her parents if today was the day that she could come out of the well. But they were already gone. Lana could hear her mother weeping as her parents walked back into the house. Every night I lied to my daughter. It was bound to come out eventually, I suppose. But this is much more painful than I ever imagined. I thought she would understand, but that was silly of me. The late-night comings and goings, the numerous landscaping projects in the backyard, with aromatic perennials covering fresh mounds of earth, the blood-stained tools in my shed. Nothing stays hidden forever. I recall forced conversations between father and daughter, interrogations they felt like, soaked in fear and diversion. Why couldn't she just let me be? Every night I lie to my daughter. Tonight is no exception. She finds me in the basement and I lie again. "Honey, I don't know anything. I promise I don't think you could ever hurt a fly. Just let me out of here. Please."